Hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on chapter 61 and 62 of Modao Zushi. We're at the Yiling Patriarch. We just saw WuXian go into the burial mounds. I'm really excited, and I have waited for this moment in the novel for quite some time. Ever since I decided that I was going to read the novel and I was watching the Donghua, I'm like, oh, when we get to the Yiling Patriarch, I want to see how the novel does it. I want to see how the deaths of Chao and Jiao are done. Y'all hype me up being like, it's different in the novel than the Donghua and the Untamed. I'm like, okay, great. And so I feel like chapter 61 and 62 are going to cover that. So we're going to be doing things a little bit differently in this audio drama episode because I have this week and next week, I'm going to be finishing out season 2 of the audio drama. So when I planned this out like months ahead of time, when I first sat down and decided I was going to watch the Untamed at the same time as the audio drama, I planned them all out, and I've tweaked things since then. Things have tweaked along the way, and this episode is one of those tweakings because I have chapter 61, 62 that I'm going to be doing for this. And then for some reason, I don't remember why, but for some reason I wrote chapters 63 through 68, which seems like a much bigger chunk, but I have it reserved for next week. And I think it's finishing out season 2 of the audio drama. And I think because it was like chapters 63 to 66 and then 66 to 68, and I didn't want to stop mid-chapter, so I decided to put them all together and make a big review out of it. But then in my notes, I have the extra paper balls for this week. And then in my notes for next week, it said, and the other extras. And I was like, and so I got on Discord today and I decided to go and see just what those other extras were. And there's really only 2 that I wanted to look at. And they were Iron Hook and Villainous Friends. But Iron Hook is 40 minutes long. I just looked it up today. And Villainous Friends is 30 minutes long. And I was like, that's going to be like a 3-hour segment next week. I was like, I can't do that. No. For scheduling reasons, 3 hours is a lot, and then for editing, and then I was also like I looked at the length of this segment for chapter 61, 62. It's only 30 minutes, so I'm like, I either do a really short reaction today, or I do a really super long one next week, or I just split the difference. So what we're gonna do, I asked Discord if it was possible to watch one of those 2 big extras this week. It is. So for today's installment, for part 20, we're going to be, I can't believe we're 20 parts. I've been spending 20 videos talking about this novel. Worth it, but I can't believe we're finally at 20. I think I averaged it out. I think total I've got on here, there's 32 altogether. So we're way over the halfway point at this point. But what I'm going to be doing is look at chapter 61, 62, episode 14 of the audio drama for season 2, and then the extra paper balls. And then I'm going to listen to those 2, and then go and read the novel chapters, read the manhwa, come back and talk about it because it's all tied together. And then after that, I'm going to react to the extra Iron Hook. And I picked the Iron Hook one because it had WuXian and Ling on it, which doesn't seem like it's tied to the Yiling Patriarch, but I was like, I'll just do. And I asked Discord, and Discord said that the Iron Hook one comes at the end, the extra chapters in the novel, and I'm like, okay, cool. I know what happens at the end. I mean, I don't know the novel and how it's going to change things, but I know the gist of what happens at the end, so I feel like it's not going to be a spoiler. But Discord was very kind and didn't spoil. They were just like, yeah, it happens in the extra chapters at the end, and that's all we'll tell you. And I'm like, cool, all right, no spoilers. So Uncharted Waters today, we're going to be actually looking at content that I have no clue about because Discord, the people on Discord, I think Goldman said, he was like, yeah, the Donghua and the Untamed don't adapt this part. And I was like, oh, so it's going to be Uncharted Waters. I'm really excited. So yeah, going to listen to chapter 61, 62 off Sweebian subs, listen to Paper Balls, stop the reaction, go read the novel chapters and the manhwa, come back, we'll do a discussion, and then we'll look at Iron Hook, which is like a 40-minute long extra, and talk about it. So this may actually be a longer discussion than I'd planned, but that's okay. And then next week, we'll finish out season 2 of the audio drama and look at Villainous Friends, which the thumbnail for that had Yao and Yang on it, so I'm like, exciting. So we'll do that next week. So I'm pretty pumped for these next 2 installments. We're going to be finishing out season 2 of the audio drama. Everybody's told me season 3 of the audio drama is where it's at. And I'm like, okay, we're almost there, but not quite. So I'm curious what all we're going to get in these 2 chapters. But we will find out. So let's not waste any more time. I've talked enough. Let's go ahead and start chapter 61 and 62 and make sure I'm plugged in. And all right, so we are going to start chapter 61, 62 of Modao Zushi, audio drama episode 14. We're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, and look at that Yiling Patriarch! I do, as much as Zahn is great in The Untamed, I do love his look in the Donghua and in that picture. It's like so somber and like a quiet evil. Oh no, we don't need that! Oh, he doesn't have his golden core either. Oh! Oh. Oh my god, this is like nightmare fuel. Oh my god. Oh! Oh. And the Kieran, going back to Kieran. Oh. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we get that thing with Kieran reminding him about the resentful energy. And then it could be used. That was freaky. Okay. Okay. Oh. $3 months. You did make a huge mistake. Yes. He did not. She speaks the truth. He's scary even in death. Ooh. Ah. Sunshot bullshit. I do love that line. I think in The Untamed he says the same thing. Oh, Chao's having none of it. Oh my god. I'll be honest, in The Untamed, the cranberry sauce eyes freaked me out. I'm glad we don't have that here. Oh, so it's a disciple from her clan. Okay. Oh, and Wenju was beheaded. And so this is where, like in the Dongwall, we catch everybody up with the alliance. It's kind of your fault. Unadaptable. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Ah, loathsome brat. Oh. Okay. Interesting. Oh, so she was gonna cut and run. Oh. I guess I didn't notice that in the Untamed. Ooh. So she was seeing the writing on the wall and was like, bye, Chao. Interesting. Oh. Like a child coming out of it. Oh, and this is like the doll that was crawling up her on the Donghua. Oh, unless the talismans, he's messed with them. Oh my god, that my ear was awful! Oh my god, I don't like this! Oh. 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 Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. What? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Hmm. Where's it coming from? Oh, that shrill. And Wanji arriving like with the graceful breeze. But how are they going to find out about WuXian? Because Chao tells them in both the Donghua and the Untamed, but then in the Untamed later you see that he's gone crazy, so I'm curious how this is going to do it. Ugh. Death by winter chill. Oh my god. Ooh. Their voices seem deeper, right? Did they go through puberty like in the 3 months since we've last seen them? Oh, she just choked herself to death on the stool leg. Oh my god. Wow. They've been tampered with. Yeah. Uh-huh. It's been reversed to attract spirits instead of keep them away. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love the music sting. This is great. Well, yes. Technically. Drawn with human blood. Mm-hmm. All of them. Who indeed? Well, he's the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, you know. And this is where Cheng's like their goals are the same. All right. And one, she's like, I don't know about this. With the dogs barking in the background. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Ah. This music. The evil aura is strong. Uh-huh. And this is where Cheng says, is there anything more than evil in the wind dogs? Ooh. Okay, so this is like the Untamed. This is like the Untamed. Oh my god. I love this music with it too. You've run so far, you've run so long. It's like a David Bowie song from Labyrinth. Oh wow. This is crazy. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't believe this. It's the wind. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Thinking it's meat, but it's not. Oh. Oh. I like that Wanji gets sent him before Chang. Oh my god. This is like so suspenseful. Oh, poor Zulu having to suffer through all this. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. This is, you can't even see it. Oh my god, that voice. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Oh wow. Oh my god. And it sounds like Zhao. See, I thought it was Zhao in the Untamed, but everybody's like, no, it's just a ghost lady. I'm like, but it looks and sounds like Zhao. Oh my god. These like little cannibalistic ghost children. Oh! Oh, so they do join in the fight. Okay. Oh! And wow, Chang hangs Zulu. Ah! Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Uh-huh. And this music. Oh. Secret caves and secret books everywhere. Hmm. Oh man. Huh. Oh. Hmm. Oh wow. Oh. Mm. Oh. That hurt. Him not calling him Lonzon. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. 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 Oh no. Oh no. They call him Lonzon then. Oh. Oh. Ooh. Yeah. Oh. Oh no. Oh. Yeah. Because he loves him and he's worried about him. Because he doesn't sound like him. Yes. Oh. 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 He's not gonna try to confine you though. Oh. 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 And he can't say that he wants him to go back because he loves him. Oh no. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh my gosh, this is worse than the shows. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh. Who should know? This was worse, y'all. This was worse. Cause yeah, even in the cause in the Donghua, Zulu dies like getting basically impaled, and Chao gets eaten alive by Jiao, but they die, but they just die, right? And in the Untamed, they just die, right? But in this, to suggest that Chang and WuXian like tortured Chao and like, ugh. And Chang hung Zulu, which I think Chang hung Zulu in the Untamed. I can't quite remember, but I think he hung him in the Untamed too. But and Wanji just left. When WuXian told him that he didn't think he could take what was about to happen, I was like, oh my gosh. I can't wait to read these chapters now because, like, yeah, for 3 months, WuXian, like, yeah, his whole body and everything was completely, like, he was ruined by that evil. Yeah. And then, this was the condensed version. Are we back to the present already? Wait, are we going back to the present? Really? Really? Oh my gosh. Okay. Forget Ning and Yanli and all that. We'll figure that all out later, I guess. What? What? Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, well, before I leave to go read the novel, we do have an extra, this paper balls, and I want to see what it is. I don't know. From the picture, it looks like it's taking place when they were studying at Gusu, so it's interesting that they put it here now. We'll see, but let's check this out, and then I'll go off and read the chapters, and we'll do this in 3, 2, 1, and let's see what this is all about. Yeah. Huh? What are you saying? I can't hear you. He's like, Yeah, just like the picture intercepts it. I'm dead! Go die by yourself! Oh. You would report him. 5th time? Maybe 6th? Oh no. You aren't going anywhere after class! Oh no! Oh. 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 Did not involve me. You reap what you sow. Hmm. Nonsense. Nope. Oh, come on. WuXian. Oh, he wanted him to catch it. Oh, he wanted him to catch it. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh, WuXian. Oh! With the WuXian theme playing. Oh my god. Oh, WuXian. Oh, honey. Oh my god. He basically just confessed to him. Corrigible, you incorrigible child. Oh. I feel like they did this in the Donghua, though. Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Oh, WuXian. Oh, my God. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, y'all, I am going to go and check out the chapters for this segment, and we'll come back and talk about it and then do Iron Hook. So I'll see y'all here real soon. Oh my gosh. These may be my favorite chapters of the novel yet, because holy cow. Yeah. Yeah, y'all weren't lying. The novel is way better than the Donghua or the Untamed. It's so much better. Okay. Damn. Yeah. Yeah, these two chapter novels. There's just two chapters, 61 and 62. And funny enough, we've had all the poisons leading up to this, and I looked to see what chapter 63 was called, and it's called Tenderness. So we are going to go back to the present. Craziness. We are going to go back to the present. Okay. But these two chapters were called Evil. Damn. So that's interesting. So in the Untamed right now, it's funny because in the Donghua we go back and forth, and in the Untamed right now we're cutting straight to Ning and WuXian going into Yiling and taking the winds with him and all that. We get that. We're right there with the Untamed, but in this novel apparently we're just going to separate that out and get to that later. So that's interesting. We're going to come back to it. That we're going to just keep cutting back and forth between the events of seasons 2 and season 3 of the Donghua. Curious. Very curious, but I kind of am ready to go back to the and maybe that was MXTX's goal. She's like, you just had to suffer through these two awful chapters, so now let's go back to the present where they love each other in real time. It's like, God, thank you, because these chapters were rough. Holy cow, the paper balls extra was really cute, and I can see why they put it with these chapters, because the paper balls, Wanji's whole thing of you reap what you sow, ties back to this chapter, and basically WuXian confessing that he wants to be friends with Wanji, like ha ha ha, what happy fun times. And then we cut to these two chapters where, as far as I am concerned, you have Wei Wuxian's life originally, and when he becomes the Yiling Patriarch, and then you have Wuxian's second life as Mo Jianyu. And in his second life, I feel like WuXian goes back to how he was at the beginning. Like he's obviously learned some things from being the Yiling Patriarch, but his personality and everything in his heart is back to its original state. As far as I'm concerned, once he goes to the burial mounds, it's like the original WuXian dies and the Yiling Patriarch takes over, and it's a totally different WuXian, especially in these two chapters. Oh my gosh. And then the Manhua only covers the Manhua is actually really good in this segment. I was getting onto it in the last segment because it seemed rushed. And in this segment, it does seem kind of rushed, but the facial expressions are much better in these chapters. 169 through 172. Not very many chapters, but again, these chapters are pretty... Oh my gosh. So yeah, So I like that the novel doesn't include this. The novel picks right up with Jiao waking up from her dream. And the audio drama gives us that little bit with Kieran about the demonic cultivation. And I almost feel like the audio drama does that intentionally so that when WuXian brings Kieran back up later with Wanji, there's this callback to the beginning of the audio drama episode where WuXian is where it goes back to Kieran's lecture about, well, what do we do with this resentful energy? And WuXian cultivates it and becomes the demonic cultivator. But yeah, so 3 months pass, and I love Zhao's thing. He's scary even in death. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even after WuXian dies the first time as the Yiling Patriarch, even after he dies, the cultivation world spends years being afraid that he's going to come back. So it's like when she says he's scary even in death, like Zhao knew what she was talking about. And oh my gosh. So, and honestly, this is all Zhao's fault to begin with. So it's like, what did you expect? So we find out about Wenju getting killed by Mingzhu. And it's a little bit different. In the audio drama, she hears it from the fellow scout. But in the novel, she gets mad at Chao and she grabs one of the papers on his desk and she crumples it up and takes it with her. And when she looks to see what it is, it's the letter that explains the whole plot and everything and about the Sunshot campaign. And I like that both the novel and the audio drama talk about why everybody thought the Sunshot campaign wouldn't work, because you had Jin, old daddy Jin, who's on the fence with everything. So Ruhan didn't consider him a threat. You had Mingzhu, which I like that he describes him as unadaptable and that he's going to kill himself one day. Kind of does. Old Ruhan Stradamus here, picking stuff out. You have the Gusu in ruins, and he talks about how Jishin is like capable but very young, so it's going to be a lot for him to shoulder on his own. And then he just laughs at Chang. He's like, Chang's barely a sect leader, so why should we even worry about him? So you have 4 unlikely sects getting together and facing Ruhan, and then Mingzhu killing his son. And it's like, and suddenly the tides turn, which is interesting. Now, I do want to make a big note. There's a big difference in the audio drama and the novel describing Zhao leaving Chao. In the audio drama, it makes it sound like Zhao is just cutting and running. She sees the writing on the wall. She sees that the Wen clan's in trouble, and she's from the Wang clan, and she's like, well, peace out. Not gonna mess with this. And it makes her seem like she's just leaving Chao. But in the novel, it actually explains it in a much better way. It talks about how Zhao has been with Chao about 6 months, which if you think about it, she was only with Chao like 3 months prior to them throwing WuXian in the burial mounds. This woman did so much damage in half a year. Like, was the catalyst for this whole story going to shit. And it's all her fault. And she was just because she was with Chao for like half a year. Like, what the hell? What? So, but she notes in the novel that Chao usually only keeps a specific woman around him for 6 months, and then he gets tired of her, he ditches her, and he moves on to the next one. So she's starting to see the writing on the wall in the novel, thinking that Chao's about to leave her and get somebody else, because he's getting irritated with her, he's fed up with her, and I'm like, oh! So it gives Zhao, it paints her in a little bit different light in the novel, where it's a little bit more sympathetic. You get why she's leaving. She's seeing the writing on the wall. And it's not that she's abandoning Chao. It's that she feels like she's about to be abandoned. So that changes the context just a little bit. But, oh my God, the flute playing, the children shrieking, like just all this evil. And WuXian cultivated this resentful energy and controlled it to save himself because he was going to die in the burial mounds. And so he had to cultivate. That's the sad part about all this. Like, yeah, WuXian succumbs to it. WuXian gets arrogant and he thinks he can control it. And Wanji was right. He's like, you're going to get to a point where you can't control it anymore. And he does. But the sad thing is that, yeah, WuXian gets arrogant. And there's so much in these chapters that frustrate me about WuXian. I'm like, no, I want our chaotic gremlin back. No. But the sad thing is that WuXian can't help it. He sacrificed his core to save Chang. And if he'd had his core, maybe things would have been different. But nope. Instead, he has to do the demonic cultivation to survive, and nobody else is going to understand it. And he doesn't want to tell anybody because it would reveal that Chang has his core. And it's like, he's just, what do you do? Right? But God, the flute playing and the creepy child that like goes there and like messes with her. And I kept thinking the whole time reading the chapter about the creepy child, all I could think of is like, Yawn. Like this was like a precursor to Yawn. Like it was kind of like, it's a twisted and demented look at WuXian's like personality, because WuXian later on, he kind of like adopts Yan, and he's kind of like a father figure to him, or a mother figure if you take it that way. But he's parental around Yan, and this demonic ghost child is kind of like the demonic version, like the twisted version of that parental affection that he later shows to Yan. And then the woman in red that has the blue face, the shrieking ghost, she's kind of like a twisted version of WuXian's always flirty around girls, even though he may not necessarily like him. And this is like the twisted version of that, where he's flirting with this demonic ghost to get it to do what he wants. It's creepy. It's very creepy and twisted. And I'm going to talk about a couple pages from the chapter, because they're some of my favorite pages in this novel so far, and we're 500 pages in. So that's saying something, but they're some of my favorite parts so far. And I want to go back to them like word for word and talk about them, because I was just like reading this going, no, WuXian, no, what? So we're going to talk about it. But anyway, so yeah, going back to this, y'all weren't joking. Thanks for not spoiling it, but Zhao's death, holy shit. And the Manhua spares no expense. The audio drama makes it tame. The novel, because Chao gets mad at her and he chucks a stool, a bar stool at her, or a chair stool, and her face is all distorted and twisted, and her eyes are going like in different directions. Like her face is all messed up. And in the novel, she just takes the stool leg and tries to shove it down her throat and choke herself with it. And they find her corpse, and she's like tried to choke on the bar stool. Like, that's, as somebody with not a good gag reflex, that's disgusting. I was like, oh my god. Yeah, and yeah, she just choked on it. And then Chang and Wanji show up, and we have basically them finding all the bodies. It's pretty much the same. There is a couple differences though. Chang, when he finds the body of Jiao, he sees that the stool leg is stuffed down her throat and it's half sticking out, and he just shoves the rest of it down in there. Like, what the hell? Like, him and Chang and WuXian are so hell-bent on revenge at this point that they're just feeding off each other, like all that resentful energy. And poor Wanji is like, what do I do? You know, it's not polite for me to question your grief, but you just stuffed a leg down a corpse. Okay, cool. And then we get to Chao, and Chao's so much worse. Like, in the novel, at least in the Donghua, it just kills him, and he has Jiao kill him, not even WuXian himself. And then in the Untamed, he has all the cuts and everything, but it's way more tame. Way more tame, ironically, for the Untamed than the novel. His fingers are missing. They've been chopped off. And his, like, flesh has been stripped from his legs. And Zulu, bless his bones, is just trying to keep them all together. Like, the bandages are just holding this man together. And, like, he won't eat. He screams about not wanting to eat meat. And then this little demonic ghost child shows up, and WuXian is feeding it Chao's fingers. What the hell? Like, what the hell? Like, feeding it the fingers. Oh my god. Like, I had on here, yeah, he fed the ghost child the fingers. He has the confrontation with Zulu, and Zulu's like, I'm doing this because I owe him a debt. And then that line from WuXian, like, why does your debt being paid have to be paid at the expense of others? It's like, oh my god. And then, so honestly, when WuXian shows up as the Yiling Patriarch, I tried to, maybe I missed it in the novel, but I don't think it describes like his hair being down and everything, but maybe it is. They describe him like as slender and all in black, but they make his hair down and all of that. But oh my god, just WuXian with the child and the ghost woman, it's terrifying. And then Chang and Wanji take enough, and they jump down to help him in the battle. And I love that WuXian, I love how he stops, like he stops the child and the ghost woman when Chang and Wanji show up, because he doesn't want the ghost child and the woman to attack Wanji and Chang. Like, he stops them. He's like, no, don't attack them. And he brings them back to him. And Chang hangs Zulu with Zidian, hangs him. And it's so creepy in the novel, because in the novel, you have Chang and Wanji jump down, and WuXian draws the two ghost people back. And in the novel, it describes it as being just total silence between the three of them, except for Zulu, like, hanging in the background with Zidian. Like, he's sitting there choking to death, his neck snapped, and they're just standing there in silence, staring at each other with Zulu hanging in the background. That is disturbing. It's so creepy. I was like, oh! And then, yeah. And so, yeah, then it's like the craziest thing is that Chang instantly like tries to, he's so happy to see WuXian, but the novel describes there being anger in Chang's joy. Like Chang is joyful to see WuXian, but he's angry because WuXian didn't come back for 3 months and won't tell him where he's been. He's like, where have you been? Why is this happening? What did you do? And WuXian's like, I can't really tell you about it because I should be dead right now, but I'm not. Instead, I'm channeling all this evil energy. Cool thing. But yeah, the blue-faced woman come back. Like while Chang is trying to question him, Wanji is like standing off to the side in silence, like not saying anything, like soaking it all in. And Chang and WuXian are like at each other, like where have you been? Why haven't you seen him? And WuXian's trying to joke with him, but you can even tell in the audio drama and in the novel that it's this like forced happiness that WuXian just sounds totally different. He doesn't sound the same anymore. Like this evil energy has totally enveloped him and it's changed who he is. And on page 518 of the novel, there's this passage, and God, I was reading it going, oh my God. So I want to read it to you guys. As he spoke, the blue-faced woman crawled towards him, using both her arms and legs. When she had been fighting, her face was almost hideous, but now, with her dark face against Wei Wuxian's lap, because he sits down, she somehow seemed to be a charming concubine, obediently pleasing her master. Giggling laughter came from her mouth as well. Wei Wuxian sat leaning on one side, his right hand stroking her soft, long hair over and over again. As he watched his movements, Lan Wangji's face grew even colder. And although the scene made Jiang Chang feel somewhat uncomfortable at the moment, he was more shocked than anything else. What hell of a place. I've carefully asked people in town, so how was it that everyone said they hadn't seen you? That whole thing, it's like all that jealousy from Wanji, because in that moment, Wanji's like, what the hell is this? Like, you don't like women. Not like this. Like, what are you doing? Well, I mean, you can make an argument that Wuxian's bisexual, but Wanji's like, this is just Wanji's nightmare, seeing Wuxian, like, stroking this ghost woman's hair as she's, like, mewling in his lap. And Chang's like, I don't get what's going on. And Wanji's so jealous and angry. And, oh my gosh, that line. And then they have the conversation like they do in the audio drama. And the moment on page 519 where Wanji speaks up and he says Wei Ying, and it says he had been standing quietly at the side. As he spoke, both Wei Wuxian and Jiang Chang turned to him. It was as though Wei Wuxian finally remembered to greet him. He nodded slightly. Han Guanjun. Doesn't say Lanzan, doesn't say Wanji, like greets him in the most formal way possible and just like, oh hey, you're here. That broke my heart! Because I was like, no! I was like, Wanji loves you, and you just, that's the most cold, horrible way you could greet someone, and that's what you do? How dare you, sir? Like, it's just awful. And then, yeah, and then Wuxian admits that, yeah, he's been killing all these people, and the moment that he starts talking about it, and he's like, well, I wanted to play around with them until they died. I'm going to play around with Chao and torture him until he dies because that's what he deserves. It's like, it goes completely against everything Wuxian has stood for up until now, and Wanji knows it, and Wanji's like, this is the resentful energy getting to you, and it's changing you, and this is not good. Like, you're hell-bent on revenge, and it's just consuming you. And God, it's so tragic. And so, and then Wanji's like, tell me what this method is. And he's like, I'm not talking to you. I'm not telling you. Because he doesn't want to admit it's demonic cultivation. He's like, this is bad. And then Lan Wangji spoke one word at a time. Go back to Gusu with me. He's like, I just want to save you. And he won't do it. And Wanji's like, go back to Gusu, why? And then he realizes, oh, I forgot your uncle hates crooked people like me. You're his proudest disciple, so of course you're the same as him. Haha, I refuse. And that's not it. Wanji doesn't want to bring him back to give him to Kirin. He wants to bring him back because he loves him and he's scared, so he wants to help save him. And Wuxian will have none of it. And it's like, it's the craziest thing. It's like goes back to the two heroes of Lotus Pier, where Chang and him would be the two heroes together and would stand beside each other, and that happens here, but it's the worst thing possible because they're torturing and killing people, and they're not being heroes at all. Like, they say these people deserve it, and they're just torturing them to death. And it's like doing these, like, it's just awful. And Wanji's like, oh my gosh. And he tries it, he's like, you can't do this. He's talking about it, he's like, he says, for cultivating an evil path, you will eventually have to pay. And throughout time, there's not been a single exception. And WuXian's like, I can afford it. I can pay. And I love how the novel says that the Untamed and the Donghua describe it as his temperament or his condition will change. And in the novel, or in this translation, it says, Wei Ying, for cultivating an evil path, you will eventually have to pay. He says the path would not only damage your body, but your heart as well. Like, not your temperament, but your heart. Your heart and soul are going to be damaged by this. And WuXian says, damage or not, how much damage, I know it the most. As for my heart, it's my heart. I know what I'm doing. And Wanji's like, you don't have control over this. You're not going to be able to control it. And then WuXian's like, of course I can control it. And they argue back and forth. And the thing that gets Wanji is this line in the book. It says, Lan Wangji walked a step closer. He seemed to be about to speak again when Wei Wuxian closed his eyes. After all, on the topic of how my heart is, what could other people know about it? Why should other people care about it? And Lan Wangji paused. He suddenly had been angered. Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian! Yeah, because Wanji's like, why should other people care about it? Because they love you. And he can't admit it. He's just, this was torture to read. It was torturous. And then, yeah, on page 521, Wuxian's like, oh my God. They have this argument. And then, yeah, and talk about this. Chang tells Wanji, Chang is like, no matter whom he goes back with, it wouldn't be you. It's not the Goosey's place to punish him. And hearing this, Lan Wangji's expression froze. He looked up at Wei Wuxian, the lump at his throat trembling. And then Chao speaks up. So, God, that broke me. Just that Wanji loves him. And at this point in the novel, it becomes abundantly clear that he loves Wuxian. Like, there's been hints all throughout the novel. There's been hints. There's been gestures, and you can make the subtext and the context that all this is leading up to it. But at this moment, when you get to this part of the novel, you realize that Wanji loves him, and he's trying to save him, and he can't do it because they're not going to go with him. It sucks so much. And the manhwa didn't help. And I was like, damn it, no. And then, yeah, and then they just torture Chao to death. And I love that they talk about how, and the manhwa says this too, that, oh my gosh. They talk about, and I was trying to see where it was, but basically the idea that they both had been overwhelmed. Yeah, it's on page 522, the very end of the chapter. It says, Lan Wangji's gaze was still locked on Wei Wuxian, while Wei Wuxian's attention had already been taken away by his dying enemy. The eyes he looked at Wen Chao and Wen Zulu with glistened, and his grin was both excited and cruel. Zhang Chang had on him the same expression. Both of them had been buried within the overwhelming pleasure of revenge. Neither had the concern to deal with an outsider. A few moments later, Lan Wangji turned around and walked down the stairs. He went out to the courier station. He stood before the door for a long time, but he never left. He didn't know how long had passed when the silent night was ripped apart by a shrill wail. Lan Wangji looked up behind him, his white robes and forehead ribbon fluttering in the cold wind. The night had passed. The sun in the sky was about to rise, and the sun on the ground was falling. These chapters got me. I was like, I can't wait to get the volume that has this in it. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, so Wanji just stayed down there waiting for them. And they never came. And then the chapter ends. Oh my God. This was hard. Yeah, this was really, really hard. But, So yeah, Wuxian being corrupted by the resentful energy and Chang just feeding into it because they're both so hell-bent on revenge. It's like we've spent all these chapters since the Lotus Pier burning of seeing Wuxian and Wanji in despair and just grief-stricken. And now, like, the anger and turmoil and everything just bubbles to the surface. And they get their chance for revenge, but you're not happy about it because it's clearly changed them for the worse. And Wanji just has his love denied. So I'm very glad that next episode we are going back. I'm very glad we're going back next episode to the present time, because after that onslaught of just angst and awfulness, I need them to go back to the present. I need them to go back to the present with Wuxian and Wanji. I feel like MXTX is like, she wants to deal a slow bouts of angst, and then she's like, okay, I'll bring you back to the happy good times. Okay, and then we'll go back to the angst, because we haven't gotten to Yan yet. We haven't gotten to Ning's death, to Qing, to Yanli. Like, that's all still to come. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be a mess. It's a mess right now in the Untamed. I'm a mess in that part. So again, we'll have all that part 3 when we get to it, but oh my god. So I'm ready to go back, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In the meantime, I do have one more thing I want to look at, and that is Iron Hook. So this is supposedly chapter 118 that happens at the very end of the novel. Chapter 118, I think. It's either chapter 118 or it was chapter 123 and 124. One of the two. I know that one of them, maybe it's chapters 123 and 124. Maybe 118 is the villainous friends. One of them it's one or the other, right? And so I decided, because it's like 40 minutes long. It's a pretty big old chunk here that we're going to listen to. So I'm pretty excited about that, though. But let's see about getting into this. All right. I'm going to get all this pulled up. So I'm pretty excited to see. It's about Ling and Wuxian doing something. That's all. No one would tell me what it's about, except the only thing that Goldman on the Discord would say is that it takes place after the entire story's over, which I've watched the Donghua, so I know how it ends. But that's all that would be said. So I'm curious. I'm curious what all we're getting into with this. Very curious indeed. So I'm going to adjust this just a slight bit. So yeah, I'm curious to know what all we're getting into in this final little section here. But yeah, let's dive in, shall we? Okay, I had to start that over because the file I downloaded, for some reason the audio didn't work, and I was like, why? So I had to re-download it. So we are going to actually start Iron Hook here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Okay. Oh, the White Room. Ah. Oh, something mysterious and spooky. Ooh, okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Why would you want to steal a glance? No, I would back the hell away from it. No. No. Oh. And there's a corpse. Cool. Okay. What is this music? What is this music? This bass. Iron Hook. Okay. Okay. Of course. Okay. Ling and disciples. Okay. Oh, so you asked Sisui to come along. Great. And Jingy's here too. Yay. And they all know it's WuXian, so that's funny because it happens at the end. Okay. I love we're getting more Scooby-Doo detective stuff with WuXian. Okay. So you can't summon the spirit. Okay. Young Master Jin. Oh, look at Sisui giving him formal, appropriate names. So the spirit can't be summoned to question. So yeah, all these people dying naturally and no one thinks it's strange. Cool. I got a bad feeling. Jingy would be the one that says that, right? I love that. Fine. Oh, we're gonna be like uncle nephew bonding. I want uncle nephew bonding, please. Oh. Oh, how are you doing? Oh. Oh. Think about your uncle. Hmm. Oh. Okay. Okay, that's it. Ha! So he's an emoji on Yu's body, so it's not as odd, right? Oh, Long Munchie isn't here! Nice! Ha! Okay. Is this like the first time that WuXian's not drank alcohol with someone? He's always drinking Emperor's Smile or like some kind of sake, so like... You've grown up. Aww. Aww. Seeing this little brat makes me happy. Aww. I love it. He's so sweet to Ling. Wouldn't be hard to spot. Hook hand. Captain Hook. Ooh. Yeah, how? Yeah. Oh, he used to be famous. Infamous. A blacksmith. A poor but handsome and honest. Oh. Why not? Oh, she cheated on him. Damn. Ugh. Hmm. Traitorous wretches! Oh. Did she kill him? Oh! 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 Wow. Hmm. Neither ghost nor human. Huh. Too much! Too much! Oh. Creepy. Oh. Okay. An eye for an eye. Oh. Hmm. What have other beautiful women ever done to him? Hmm. 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 Okay. Gross. Mm. Went like a shadow. Hmm. So he's evaded people all these years. Hmm. Huh. Huh. Okay, bye! Of course it's related. Oh. Okay. Oh, interesting. Hmm. Hmm. You won't be able to see it because the dyes will be gone. Uh-huh. Yeah. We have to investigate to see whether it's trustworthy or not. Okay. Didn't you come to supervise this night hunt? Not lead us on a Scooby-Doo chase? Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, going with Sizwe too! Oh. And WuXian getting bonding moments with Sizwe too? Oh. I love seeing WuXian just be a good uncle. Okay. Hmm. What? Of course! They just bring chaos! Oh my god! Oh my god! Just utter chaos! Of course, it's WuXian. Why would there not be? Ah! It's dripping blood again! He's like, what can I do? I can't do anything! Salt! Salt might work! Sizwe's always thought of it. He's 2 steps ahead. We'll melt it! I love that Ling says we can't melt it, and Sizwe's like, okay, melt it. This is so chaotic! Oh my god. I want to see this animated. Oh my god. It really melted. Oh my god. See? He's like, see, I told you we could. Yeah, just like that. I love that we should just using this as an exercise to teach them all. Eh, nobody wants to stay in this haunted house. Theoretically. Of course, Ling volunteers. Don't pat my head. A man's head can't be patted. Chang said it. Hmm. Oh my god. Oh, so sweet. So sweet. Wishing him the best of luck. But they're not going to leave him by himself. Surely not. They really left him there all night. Ah! Of course, Sisui has the best manners. He was taught by his father, who's the most mannerful. I was gonna say Wuxian's not a morning person. Oh, it was Wanji's orders. You have to eat breakfast every day. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. A mirror. Oh. Oh. What? A chair? Yeah, there wasn't a chair to begin with. And you stayed there? What? Oh. Yeah. Okay. It's the wife. Oh, it could be the wife and not him. Oh, that was weird in my ears. Oh. Yeah. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Shades of resentful energy. Oh, the moment before they died or something they resent the most. Oh. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. And that's why there's the chair up here. Okay. And that's why she appears in the White Room. Okay. Yep. Okay. Was she just eating that whole time? Shingy spitting everything out. Endlessly repeating. And you're gonna lead. Okay. Why me? You need the experience. Okay. All right. So it's your turn. Everyone wants to do it. Why are you so... Why are you backing down? Uh-huh. Oh my gosh, I love it. You're the worst at keeping arrangements. I just love that they also accept that WuXian is with Wanji. Like, they're just like, this is at the end of the books. They're like, it's all perfectly fine. I love it. I'm amazed Wanji has let him go this far, but I guess Sisui's with him, so it's fine. Hmm. We'll see. No. No. Oh, speaking like Wanji. Oh. Ah, he is imitating Wanji. If I faint later. Oh. I'll wake you up immediately. Who knows what method you'll use? Amazing. Amazing. I love all these antics with our boys. It's been a while since we've had our boys in the story, so it's good to see our disciples back. Our little ducklings. Oh, she was tied to the chair. Oh. So yeah, it's like her final moments. Oh my god. This is terrifying! Like my skin's like prickly. Why doesn't she scream and cry for help? Oh. Right, right. Well, anybody would. It doesn't have to just be a woman. Hmm. Right. Right next to me. Why are you talking about this? Oh, Xingyi, you're amazing. Oh. Hmm. Ha! Hmm. Hmm. Oh, you've improved. Don't distract me. I love that WuXian's like, let me teach you the ways of deduction, my dear boys. Oh. Oh no. Yeah, why is she still mute? I don't blame you. Oh. There's been 1,000 times worse than this. Oh! She was waiting for him. Oh! Ah! Oh! Huh. What? Oh, and lured him out. Oh. And they died together. Hmm. Huh. Huh. Hmm. That's why. Okay. Ah, I couldn't tell how it happened. Oh. So let's go find his tongue so he can be at peace. We've got to go do it. Let's go find this tongue. This random tongue. I love how excited they are. Wow. Well, she's like, yeah, go search for it. I'm not guessing. Because he wants you to figure out for yourself. That's the point of you learning, right? I don't like this music sting. Hmm. For 5 days! Be more patient. It's rotted away. I was gonna say, how do you even know? It's just muscle. How would you even know? Oh! 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 You just happen to show up right at the right amount of time, right as they're finishing up. Oh my gosh. He's too used to the 9 p.m. schedule. Oh. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hmm? I love he just shows up and they're together. He's like, oh hey. Okay, so this was 2 days ago. Oh. 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 Hmm. Yeah, why is there nothing to worry about? Oh. 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 Yes. Don't tell me about the other stuff. I can't say that I won't be scared. Aww. Oh. Don't mess around. Like, wrap this all up. Oh. Huh. Huh. Wow. Yep. An A! Aww. Oh my god. Okay. You domestic men, you. Okay. How dare you? Okay. Oh my gosh. The fact of you have no idea. Well, yeah, you all know. To get to the point where they're like domestic like this at the end of the novel, I know it's coming. Because this was just like a little teaser of it. That's why they put it at the end here. They're like, yeah, we've got all this sadness in this season, but just wait. Don't worry. There's a lot of sadness right now, but afterwards, once all the sadness is over with, you'll have these great things, this domestic bliss with Wanji and WuXian to look forward to. Isn't that exciting? I mean, it is. Very much so. I don't know if they're going to give us anything after the outro or not. I'm curious. Okay. Anything else? Got like a little bit left, but that's it. Wow. Okay. That surprisingly went by pretty quickly for being 40 minutes. I was like, that went by a lot quicker than I thought. Huh. Oh my gosh. So this episode, I really liked both chapters 61, 62, gut-wrenching chapters, very gut-wrenching. And then you have this iron hook thing where it's just the disciples getting to be ridiculously adorable and going along their way. But this was a nice, like I said, a nice little thing to be like, oh, hey, you know how you're having all this angst right now and sadness? Well, don't worry. Don't worry. At the end of the novel, there'll be all this domestic happiness with Wanji and WuXian. You just got to get there first. I'm like, okay, great. But yeah, oh my gosh. I love the idea of Ling and Sishui and Jingyi and the other disciples like just bonding with WuXian and like WuXian bonding with... I like that WuXian establishes, he's like, well, you can't do everything with Chang, right? Chang is your uncle, but you have other uncles too that you want to do stuff with, and Chang can't be with you every single time. I also like that because it suggests that WuXian and Chang have made up. So I'm like, okay, good. Glad that that's happening. But I just love the bonding with WuXian and Baby Ling. I love Sishui and WuXian just going off. Sishui being the most perfect cinnamon roll. Like, he's just the perfect blend of WuXian and Wanji because he's their son. And it's great. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding? And Jingyi just being hilarious. Like, the spit take, him being freaked out in the mansion, him being so excited to get the A at the end. Like, Jingyi is just absolutely, I love him. And yeah, the whole Sishui, him and Ling, when he's like, oh, Mr. Jin, you know. Yeah, Sishui, I get the impression, has maybe a crush on Ling. Who knows? Jingyi's just so wonderfully dense. I love it. But yeah, I just love that WuXian's just chaotic with them. There's just chaos following them everywhere. And anytime he's involved. Also, I like the fact that he's just like trying to teach these kids like how to be detectives and use your cultivation skills and solve the mystery, right? I love that. And use your deduction skills to the fullest extent. I also like the idea that Sishui is placed in charge of WuXian to make sure he does everything right. That Wanji's placed Sishui in charge, making sure that mom does the things. So when he's like, you have to eat all of your breakfast according to Wanji, and it's like, I absolutely love it. Also, I was wondering why Wuxin was yawning so much, but shut up. The fact that when Wanji shows up, Wuxin's like, oh, it's almost 9 o'clock, isn't it? That's way past my bedtime. I'm just like an old person now. Just gotta go back, Wanji. You've gotta go to bed. Bye. I'm like, oh, how dare you? I love it. And then asking for a reward from Wanji. And Wanji's like, don't you have enough? And Wuxin's like, well, I can get things more than once. Like, and they don't show us this. Such teases. Such a tease. What a tease. Mm-mm. And then, yeah, the idea at the end is kind of melancholy because it's sort of, you know, Shishui's like, well, we put the tongue back with the iron hook guy and he's screaming now. And Wuxin's like, well, yeah, he's screaming. He's in pain. And I love that Shishui's like, well, how do we solve this? And he's like, oh, you just let him scream it out and then he'll leave. That's the solution. It's such like a cruel yet kind of morbidly hilarious that's how you do it. And then I love that Wuxin at the end, he's like, come on, Wanji, like tell your disciple how great he did. Come on, tell him. And I like that Wanji, like, there's like that little flirtiness where he's like, don't mess around. Like, it's like, can't you dads like stop? And then them both chuckling at the end. Amazing. I kind of love it. So this was really good. Iron Hook was really good, but I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I love these chapters, but I am so excited to get back into the present, back to Yao and everything happening in the present time, getting out of this flashback for a bit. Well, I know we'll probably have to go back when Yanli dies and when Ning dies and all of that, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I need a little breath of fresh air, right? Especially because things are so heavy in the Untamed right now. Having a breath of fresh air in the novel will be nice as well. So I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below with both chapters 61, 62, with this Iron Hook extra that was great, and then the manhwa and the novel too. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts, but next week I'm pretty excited. So we'll finish up season 2 of the audio drama. We'll have 2 episodes next week, and Villainous Friends, the extra. I'm excited. It'll be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back soon with more Modao Zushi. Bye.